Now that the winter holidays are over, it's time to look forward to the next holiday, which is Valentine's Day. So this month I have 2 cards for the occasion. Here is a sneak peek at what we're making. Hello and welcome back to Laurie's Something New with Something Old, where I showcase one of my favorite old products from Altenew. Here are the products I'll be using: the stamp wheel, the Lovebird stamp set, watercolor 36 pan set, artist markers, crisp dye inks, blending brushes, and the diamond frame cover die. Here's our first card using the Lovebirds. Anytime I do any stamping, I like to use the stamp wheel. It's just convenient for me, keeps everything in place. And I'm positioning this up in the corner so that I don't use the whole sheet of paper. And I'm going to use that square die to cut out the birds to put it on my project. I'm using obsidian ink to stamp the birds, and I am using clear embossing powder to give it a shine. Now I'm going to get out the 36 pan watercolor set, and I'm going to be using those blues there and those reds there for the birds. And I'm using Altenew's watercolor brushes, which I forgot to mention at the very beginning. And I think I'm using number 2 brush here, but I do switch to a much smaller brush later. And you can watch me paint this. I'm going wet to dry. In other words, the paper is not wet, just the brush, obviously with the watercolor. And once I paint a little bit, I try to spread it around, make it an even fill, make it darker in some spots and lighter in other spots to show shadow and highlight. I'm imagining the light is coming from the upper right side, which is why I removed some of the color there to give it a brighter color. I have to apologize. I'm still learning my camera setup, and sometimes when I zoom in I realize I am not exactly on what I'm painting, and I apologize for that. Hopefully I'll get better. Thank you for putting up with my mistakes. I wanted the wings in the background and the tail in the background to be a little darker, assuming they're in shadow because they're in the back. I believe at this point I might have switched to the smaller brush. It's hard for me to tell. I'm just going to be quiet while you watch me paint. I can put some music in the background. The 36 pan set is a lovely set of watercolors. It has more colors than the artist watercolor set. The artist one has, I think, 24. The artists are a higher quality. Sometimes I like using those better, but this way I didn't have to do as much mixing. I'm now painting the branch, and I'm painting the branch with a lighter brown, and then I'm going to come back with a darker brown. Oh, and now you can see I've switched to the smaller brush and put some detail into the branch with the darker color. There I got a little bit of paint outside the line, and I was able to put some water, clean clear water, and kind of erase the line. Here I'm giving some shadow at the bottom and little lines here and there to kind of show the texture of the bark. Using a green for the leaves. I'm using a lighter green and then a darker green at the base of the leaves just to give some dimension. And oh, maybe I didn't. Or maybe I did and it didn't show too much. That's obviously a yellow for the beak and the toes, the claws. Just trying to blend that out a little better, make it more smooth. I'm going on to some reds. Trying so hard to get everything I'm doing in the picture and then close enough where you can see, and I see I'm not successful. You can't see the paint on the palette there. Again, I'm trying to give some shading there with the center of the bird breast lighter than the edges. If you find this video informative, helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It helps me with my YouTube channel, and click the subscribe button so you know the next time that I publish a video. Here I'm using, oh, I forgot to mention that too. It's a stencil, a striped stencil, and I'm using a blue and a red to put stripes kind of for the background of my card. And so I'm alternating the two colors, and then I'm lining up the stencil where I've already put the ink down so that I can fill in the stripes again with the two colors. I think I do the two darker colors just to give some interest in the background. And these colors that I'm using, it looks like it's Ocean Wave and Crimson, are coordinating colors that go with the colors of the bird, the blue and red in the bird. And now what I'm doing is I'm using a 005, there it is, micron pen. The 005 is a very fine point nib on it, just to put some lines in there, give it some character, It's not necessary, but I like doing pen work like that myself. And then that's going to go in the center. And I'm going to put the I love you stamp right underneath the birds. Using the stamp wheel, I like it especially for sentiments, so I can double stamp if I need to. What I'm showing there is that this is the new plate for the stamp wheel that has horizontal and vertical lines, so that I can line up the sentiment and have it make sure it's straight. And I heat embossed the love you too, although I could not make it show up on the... And these, oh shoot, I forgot to put these on too. I thought I had everything. These are enamel dots from Altenew, and it just so happened that blue and red matched my birds perfectly, so I added that. And then some ink spatters with black watercolor. I got, I'm not an expert at splattering, and I got way too much, I think, splatters in the lower left corner of that, but it is what it is. I trimmed down the one sheet, and now I'm using coordinating ink of the same color I used for the bird and the stripes to put a border around the card base, so I'd have that blue border around my card. That way I don't have to find paper that matches that. I can just use my ink. I raised up the image on foam dots, or foam strips, foam tape. And there it is. This is the second card we're going to make. Same little birds. I colored them. This I'm using the permanent black because I'm going to be using alcohol markers. And the alcohol marker does not work well with the pigment ink. It would kind of blend the black, and you don't want muddy birds. So, and I'm using the same blues, that's dusk, and basically the same technique. And I am not an alcohol marker expert at all. And I got confused with my blues. I thought what I was using at this moment right now was the lightest blue, but it wasn't. And anyway, just watch me color and you'll see it turns out fine. But I go back and forth trying to make that breast lighter in color. And you'll see on the second bird, I use at least the right colors in the right order. So that's the darkest one. And you'll see that is, I believe, actually the lightest one. Yep, that's the middle color. So there we go. But it turned out fine just anyway. And then I'm using mango smoothie for the bill and the toes, the claws. And although the nib on that looks like it would be too big to get into those tiny little feet, I pressed very gently, and as you can see, I was able to do that. I'm using 2 colors of green for the leaves, a darker one for the base and a lighter one just to give it some depth there. And then I go back with the lighter one to kind of blend it up. And then Frosty Pink, Coralberry, and Ruby Red are the colors I'm using for the birds, with Frosty Pink being the lightest and Ruby Red being the darkest. Just like I did when I watercolored, I do the darkest color on the outside and then the lighter color towards the center of the birds. That's the middle color. I think that's the middle color. Yeah, maybe that was the lightest color. And now I'm trying to blend the colors together so there's an even. And I just go back and forth between the light and the dark. I believe that's the lightest. So what I'm doing is I'm doing dark on the edge, light all over, and then I'm using the medium color to kind of blend the 2 colors together and add a little gradient. Yeah, that's the middle color. I turn my paper around and around so that I can easily get to all the parts of what I'm coloring. So I'm not covering with my fingers what I'm drawing. When I'm using alcohol markers, sometimes I'm very disappointed, and then I come back the next day and I look at it and I think, hey, that's pretty good. I did okay. So I'm not an expert at all. I just play around. I think this is Perfect Peach or Peach something for the branch. I'm doing the same thing I did with the watercolor. The lighter color goes first, then I'll use a brown, darker color to give some shadow and texture to the branch. Just the little dots and textures, and then I go back with the peach again just to blend that. And I didn't like that, how it looked so too outlined. The black was too dark compared. So I'm just going back with the 2 lighter colors and trying to blend that out some more. And there it is, and I like that better. And now I'm going back with the pigment ink. I did not remove the stamp from my stamp positioner, from the stamp wheel, so I can go right on top with that darker ink, and that looks much nicer, I think. Then I used red paper to cut out the diamond frame cover die, stamped the 2 little hearts, colored them in with the same red, and stamped the love you. Thanks for joining me for another Laurie Something New with Something Old, where I highlight older Altenew products in a new way. If you found this video useful or helpful, please give it a thumbs up and be sure you click the subscribe button below. All of the products I use today will be listed also in the description below. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.